A special election in Columbia may mean higher utility bills.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 9.
Tonight, an update on the shooting outside a Joplin movie theater late last night. Good evening, I'm Greg Mantell.
And
In another shooting death, federal authorities released details of the shooting at Los Angeles International Airport yesterday. Today, a federal prosecutor said the suspected gunman pulled a rifle out of his bag, shot a TSA officer, walked away, then came back to shoot his victim again. The TSA officer, Gerardo Hernandez, died from his injuries. Authorities arrested a 23-year-old Paul Ciancia in the attack. A federal complaint was filed this afternoon charging Ciancia with 2 felony offenses, murder of a federal officer and commission of violence in an international airport. If convicted, Ciancia would face life in prison without parole or the death penalty. If you live in Columbia, you could have to pay $3 more on utility charges by 2019. Residents will have the chance to vote on the issue Tuesday in a special election. It's all part of the sewer system's revenue bond. Longer bus hours, a proposed tax increase, and a convention center were all hot topics at a Jefferson City community meeting this morning. City council members and residents from Ward 1 and 2 were all there. Several people stressed the importance of public transportation and asked for extended hours for the Jeff Tran bus service. Resident Mary Cross says many people cannot work evening hours because they don't have a car and the bus doesn't run then. Another resident hopes council members will realize Jeff Trans needs funding.
We don't want public transportation to be the first thing. Every time you have to cut the budget, that's the first thing to look at. Can we cut some routes? It's not anything, other things. Well, yeah, there are other things, but this is always one of the first issues. And we don't want it to be such an easily dismissed because it's so few people.
But it comes down to economics. We have a budget for Jeff Tran right now, and so we try to provide the best service that we can for the citizens based upon that budgeted amount of money.
Residents also voiced concerns about the proposed tax increase to improve the Capitol Mall. The proposed Community Improvement District, or SID tax, would raise sales tax at the mall 1% for up to 40 years. One resident says she worries it will lead to people shopping elsewhere. City Attorney Drew Hilpert says studies show a 1% increase doesn't scare away shoppers. Also up for discussion was the possibility of building a convention center in Jefferson City. Multiple residents said they would prefer a downtown location. They say it will make it easier for conference attendees to walk to the Capitol and downtown restaurants.
Ride-in boats, down streets, cutting off your motor to listen to hear if people were in their attics, and then cutting them out of their attics. Because most of the initial areas we went to, the water was up to the eaves of the houses.
Situations. That's why the Missouri Task Force 1 held a high-intensive training in Columbia today. KOMU 8's Alexis Rogers found out why this training is so essential. Let's send it over to Tori for a look at this week's forecast. And the Pakistani government spoke out today following yesterday's death of a Taliban leader in a U.S. drone strike. Find out what they had to say.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
I have to say I am excited for that extra hour of sleep.
Oh my gosh, we all need it. All of us.
I'll take it.
Thanks, Tori.
Whiteman Air Force Base is celebrating the 20th anniversary of the arrival of the first B-2 stealth bomber, the Spirit of Missouri. But take a look. The plane flying him at Whiteman these days is a lot different than what first arrived 2 decades ago. The Air Force has spent billions of dollars modernizing the B-2.
So the B-2, it's basically 80s technology, the best that they had in the 80s, but they continue to upgrade the aircraft. So the B-2 that came out in the 90s is not the same aircraft that we're flying today. It's the same shell of an airplane, but the insides are quite different.
Among the changes, the magic paint covering the plane has been upgraded, plus the cockpit software and communication systems have been updated. And another big change, the aircraft has been equipped with the latest smart weapons. In the past, mission planners had to carefully calculate bomb trajectory based on winds, airspeed, altitudes, and other variables. Now the crew merely sends GPS coordinates to the weapons and the bombs take care of the rest. The B-2, which can carry nuclear bombs, is considered the most advanced aircraft ever built. All 20 of the B-2s are based here at Whiteman and Knob Noster.
Well, movie lovers in Cuba will soon have fewer choices at the movies.
Coming up, a decision that makes some unhappy. Pakistan's information minister criticized a U.S. drone attack that killed a Pakistani Taliban leader yesterday. Today, the information minister said it has disrupted potential peace talks between the government and the Taliban. He said it was a setback, but insisted the government would ensure it would not fail in arranging the peace talks. Pakistani security officials said Hakimullah Masood and 3 others were killed yesterday in northwest Pakistan. Clashes broke out between police and demonstrators in western France today at a protest against a planned environmental tax. Tens of thousands of demonstrators wearing red hats gathered together to oppose the eco-tax, which was set to bring in around $1.3 billion annually to help finance mostly rail projects. The demonstration turned violent when protesters started throwing wooden boxes, stones, and other objects at police. The Cuban government recently announced that all privately run movie theaters and video game arcades must shut down immediately. The announcement was published today in the Communist Party newspaper Granma. Officials said the businesses are unauthorized and must be halted immediately. Before the announcement, private movie and video game businesses have been operating in a legal gray area. A gunman abducted and killed 2 French journalists on assignment in northern Mali today. French and Malian officials said the 2 were taken as they left the home of a rebel leader. The deaths came 4 days after France celebrated the release of 4 of its citizens who had been held for 3 years by al-Qaeda's affiliate in North Africa. An investigation is underway, but suspicion has immediately been placed on Islamic militants.
Missouri has the inside track for the SEC East title.
But can they keep the lead? See how we're doing. Up next in sports. Now here's a look at what we're following on KOMU 8 News at 10. Daylight savings time tonight means you get an extra hour of sleep.
We'll tell you about the mattress you're... Well, hopefully those Tigers can pull it out this week.
That's right. We'll have a live report from there after the game, and we'll see if they can avoid a collapse this week.
Don't forget to set those clocks back. We'll see you at 10.
Have a good night.